Hi everyone, I'm Chef Kate. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are doing a pumpkin crumb bar. So kind of like a pumpkin pie, but if you're not really big into pumpkin pie, this is just a step better. So we're starting with very simple ingredients. You don't even need to use a mixer if you don't want to. So really easy, simple, but yet delicious. I have my dry ingredients. So what I'm going to do is grab my recipe because I always forget it. So I have a half a cup of light brown sugar in here. So there, so it's in my bowl. I have what else do I have? I have a half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, quarter teaspoon of salt. If you have used salted butter and melted it, just omit the salt. So I always use unsalted so I can regulate the amount of salt in my finished product. Then I have a teaspoon of cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of cloves. So that's kind of optional. If you like cloves, put them in there. You won't miss it too much, but I like to layer my flavors. So I use cinnamon and I use cloves in here. And my last ingredient to put in is flour. So I thought, well, we should show you how to measure out flour. So it's 1.5 cups of flour that's going to go into our crust. So I have a half cup measure here, my big thing of flour. I'm going to spoon in my flour into it and then level it. So you don't want to go in and scoop all this up because you won't have the right measurement. You'll have too much flour because it compacts in your measuring cup. So since this is a half a cup, I need to do 3 of them to get 1.5 cups. Or you can use a 1 cup measure. That's fine. Just remember that you're only doing 1.5 cups. So there we go. So here I have my mixer, mixing up my flour and my spices in there, and I'm going to add my melted butter right in. So I'm going to scrape down. I want to make sure I get that whole half a cup of butter in here, and you'll see I'll start the mixer, and it is going to take like 30 seconds to come together. And we want it just to be nice and crumbly. We don't need it to be smooth like a dough. It's just going to crumble. And that's going to be our crust as well as our topping. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to stir it all up. All right, so that looks pretty good. I did use a paddle attachment. If you were mixing it by hand, you just use a spoon. So you don't even have to bring out the big mixer for this. So our end product looks like this. So it's crumbly in there. I can stir it a little bit more. You don't want any big hunks of flour. But look at that, beautiful crumb. All right, so here is our filling that we're going to put in our crust. So it's 1.5 cups of your pumpkin puree mix. So it already has a little sugar in it, it has your cinnamon in it, everything like that. So it's really simple. 1.5 cups and 1 egg. So I'm just going to crack the egg in there and I'm just going to stir it up. That's your whole filling. Isn't that nice and easy? Stir it up. It's going to go into our pan on top of the crust. And then we're going to take that crumble that we had left over and we're going to put it right on top. Let's see. All right. Scrape all that pumpkin out. I'm just going to smooth it over. Spread it to all the corners. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm just going to take my hand and sprinkle this all over. So this is just our reserve crumble that we use on the bottom. Spread it around. All right, that's it. Pop it into the oven. It's going to bake about 30 minutes. Be nice and golden brown on top. You want to let it cool for a couple hours before you cut into it. So here we have our finished bar. It's one giant bar right now. But I wanted to show you how important the parchment paper is. So what's so cool is all you have to do is lift up the whole bar by the parchment paper and it comes right out. So easy to clean and super easy to cut into. I take my little sides and put them down. My knife that I want to cut with is just a nice chef knife, and I'm just going to cut it into your bars. So I do have it on a cutting board, so I'm not going to ruin my countertop at all. Just going to cut down, and I can turn the whole thing, cut the other way. You don't have to do squares, you can do rectangles, you can do whatever shape you want. There we go, nice and easy. And now it's ready for serving. They lift right up. So you're gonna get a beautiful square, no sticking, no mess, nice and easy. So you see the nice layer of your pumpkin in there. So it's your shortbread on the bottom, your pumpkin layer, and then your crumbs.